naman, gumanda ako.
Yun ay sasakyan natin.
Na. You have 3 tickets? You have 3?
Are we doing up or down?
I'd like to do up. Yeah. Yeah. Reunion.
Everywhere they make all the granola bars, hot cereals, cookies, and other such treats, which are shipped all over the world, right from this very factory. But this factory not being so important, as the river runs along beside it. You see a little further up the river is Trent University. And it is at Trent University where this waterway splits. The majority of that water it travels down through several dams, hydroelectrical plants, or right by Quaker roads into this marina where we are all sitting right now. Although there is a secondary channel. This was a time that a man by the name of Richard Burton Rogers, or Harvey Rogers as we like to call him, he was hired to overcome the 77-foot elevation change, or roughly about 23 meters from the lake that we're sitting in right now to the level of the river at the university. It was at this time he decided to build a giant hydraulic lift lock, a conventional plug lock, and of course the canal system that we're all going to travel today. Making our way out to the water today, ladies and gentlemen, if my driving seems to make any of you a little bit nervous. Well, we do have a fully stocked bar here on board. That's sometimes very important. We also have coffee, tea, and all the cool soft drinks. If I happen to scare you really badly, right on the lower deck right across from the bar, we also have washrooms. So I think we're pretty much prepared for the next hour and 15 minutes or so. We may be all out on the water. It is at this time that I would like to let everybody know that I am licensed by Transport Canada and we are certified by the Canadian Coast Guard to do trips just as we are doing today. On board, we do have life jackets and other life-saving devices. If we're to need these, however, my crew on board and myself would quickly hand these out, although the majority of the water we travel in today is actually just a couple feet underneath the keel of this very vessel. So if we sink all the way down to the bottom today, ladies and gentlemen, stand up and you're going to be just fine. Making our way through the marina, also off to our right-hand side. If you have ever been to Peterborough before, you might be able to notice there's now a very large white triangular-shaped structure missing right over here, the open-air amphitheater. It was condemned and torn down by the city last season. The city had purchased a mobile unit. They had it constructed here just before Canada Day for Canada Day festivities and concerts all summer long, at least every Wednesday and Saturday night, which have now come to an end. But this piece of property which it all happens on, it is known as Del Prairie Park. It is named after a local TV radio celebrity right here in town, Mr. Del Prairie. But for many years, this piece of property, well, it was actually known as Hospital Point. You see, back in the early days, the only way to access this area was by water. People would then be spending weeks or sometimes even months aboard vessels. As they would arrive in Peterborough, we marched on to this very piece of property where there they would be quarantined. And quarantine is the Latin word for 40, because that's how it got kept there before released to the general population. Changing the batteries. We have left the marina behind us and now we're all out on one of the smallest lakes on the Trent River waterway. It does have a very appropriate name, I might add. It is known as a little lake. And it is only 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer wide at its widest point. Of course, right on the center of our lake here, we normally have 2 flotation devices. We really have one here now. The Peterborough Centennial Bound, not quite operating just yet. It will be operating on return. It was first placed here at the lake, though, in 1967. This is a pretty good one. I guess I should really say that it was first placed here, because in reality, when it was first placed in our lake many, many years ago, it was actually put far into the bay, but way off into the right-hand side of this mountain. It's so far into the bay, in fact, that oftentimes on a breezy day, the mist from the fountain can be carried right over tops of the roofs of most of the houses we can see off to our right. We know this is Crescent Street, and the people that used to live on Crescent Street, they used to complain to the city almost daily. They felt that they were receiving a second shower on the way to work every morning. They did have the greenest lawns in town, however, nothing was ever done about these complaints. That was until this very same mist continued to drift over the maple trees that are way over the right-hand corner of the bay. We know this is the Lake Cemetery. And from there, I understand it began to erode away some of the headstones. Not exactly sure who's over there, but they started to complain. They're going to say that we came out of this mountain about 1,000 feet to our six right now. Well, although many of us do inhabit Peterborough now, way back in the early 1800s, we had a man by the name of Adam Scott come here. We even named the high school after right here in town. When Adam Scott arrived here, he quickly discovered that this area, it was absolutely covered in huge white pine trees. So he decided to put in a mill. Well, as that mill began to prosper, a small community then started to grow around it. They wound up getting the name Scott's Mills. They actually kept that name for quite a number of years. That wasn't until about 1825. It was in 1825 when a man by the name of Peter Robinson came here. And when Peter Robinson came here, he brought with him 2,000 people from Ireland. At that time, each adult male and family were only given 100 acres of land, but they were also given enough provisions to last them almost an entire year. Eventually, you get to the edge of Georgian Bay, which is Port Severn, off number 45. The distance from Trenton, log number 1 to Port Severn, log 45, it's about 245 miles or 386 kilometers, and it passes right through central Ontario. It's one of our longest inland water routes, but even more important than that, it is the second largest national park in Canada. I think those log 20s that were remotely ready for us at the moment. The upper gates are open. I see the boats out right now at the moment. Well, luckily enough, it takes only about 5 minutes to drain a lock, so we shouldn't be waiting out front.
Yes. There.
No, I don't know. That was Jordan.
Oh.
He was coffee. And I said, Sam's in. And he's like, well, one time she come into the waters. I said, I'm not sure she will be fine. Well, she always texts me. I'm like, I left the staff all. She will have it. Just let her know. Talk to the staff. I said, well, we'll be in a few hours. I'm not in. I don't think that's fair. Yeah. Sam, okay, absolutely, because I want to include her in our group.
Yeah.
I actually do really like her.
Yeah, no, she's awesome.
I really do. And it's we left so early that I feel bad that I'm back and
Great big giant houseboat making its way down. Looks like one of ours too, so I won't make fun of it. It's a houseboat rental, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your cameras ready. So over the course of COVID, I actually left this job and I became an essential service gas work. So he couldn't afford to pay me here anyway. But I know I told you it's my first day, by far my not. I've been here for 17 years now. I love this job and I want to continue to do this job. But when COVID hit, I had to do something else because it wouldn't quite support the family. So I left, and in those 2 years that I was gone, my boss bought a houseboat company. I'm going to make fun of them anyway. You only need 2 things to get a houseboat, ladies and gentlemen. One, you need a credit card. It's important to them. The second thing you need is your Pledgecraft operator's card. Now, when you get these houseboat rentals, you don't need to have a full operations card. You can get a temporary one for the length of the houseboat rental. Did you know this? Yeah. So some of these boaters have stepped foot on some of these boats and never stepped foot on a boat before. Makes it a little scary of the water for the rest of us. But it's a great way to spend vacation, I might add. This one coming back, this is our 56 coming in right here. You can sleep 16 adults on it. It is literally a cottage on the water. 2 fridges, massive bunks, 1, 2, 3 rooms and 3 beds, and the couches to turn into beds as well. Wait till you see this thing, and like I said, I don't really like making fun of them because this is one of ours, and if they wreck something, I'm one of the guys that have to help fix it. But like I said, keep your cameras ready. You never know. Some more chit-chat time. I'm a chit-chat kind of person. You guys chit-chat, people? I hope so, because I have the microphone. Is there any birthdays, celebrations, anniversaries? Nobody brought their wife here on a 45th wedding anniversary, did they? And said, honey, I'm going to take you on a cruise, and then you wound up here. Because I have a secret for you. This is not the cruise that she wanted. 45 years married, first day divorce, just saying. Is there anything going on today?
Birthday over here.
Perfect. Whose birthday? Yours? What's your name? It's Jade's birthday today at the front of the boat, everyone. We're waiting for the houseboat anyways. Shall we all sing happy birthday to Jade? Can you guys help me out? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jade. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
How old are you, kid?
I am
23. What a great age. It's almost, I'm starting to look back at 23, so what does that tell you? I was really hoping there was a wedding anniversary because it's really fun. So I want to know, I've only been married for 7 years. The ring's still on. It's a good start. We've been together 13 years. I wish we got married years back. We decided to have a couple kids. Let's say decided. We had a couple kids. So, of course, you can't fit in a wedding dress. You can't have a wedding ring. So that's what my wife's idea was. But there was a couple things that I did not know before I got married. One, I was not aware that the second a woman gets engaged to her boyfriend, that her wave changes instantly. I did not know that until the ring went on the girlfriend's finger. We were boyfriend and girlfriend, seeing an old friend across the road. Susie, for example, my wife would see Susie. Susie! Hey, Susie, how you doing, Susie? What's going? She would always wave, hey, Susie. The second the ring went on the finger, she stopped waving like this, and then she started to wave like this. Susie! What can I have? I did not know that. That kind of blew my mind. And she did it for some time, too, I might add. We know what I really didn't know before I got married? That men get to pick their wedding band. I did not know that. It was a surprise to me. Sitting around one day with my fiancée at the time now. Honey, what do you want to do today? Well, let's go to the jewelers and pick out your wedding band. I get to pick my wedding band? Fantastic. Most women don't get to pick their engagement. Most women don't get to pick their engagement ring, right? So I went to the jewelers, I picked out this ring. You guys want to come take a picture of this thing? I'm alright with it. White gold laser cut, super nice. Ooh, flashes in the sunlight, I love it. I ordered this ring 6 months in advance for my wedding. It came down to 2 days. Yes. So the day before my wedding, I call up the jeweler on a Thursday saying, hey guys, it's Jody. Getting married in a day or so here. My wedding band come in? Nope, sorry Jody, it's not here yet, but don't worry, there's a big shipment coming in tomorrow. It'll be here tomorrow, I'm almost guaranteed. But don't you even stress if it's not. If it's not here, we're gonna give you a loaner. Pardon? We'll give you a loaner for the sale. It's the ring I'm supposed to wear for the rest of my life. It actually showed up the very next day. Had the reception, everything went good, wedding, ring still on, like I said. But it was there shortly after, ladies and gentlemen, I found out why it took so long for my wedding ring to come in. I am sure that my wife got those guys from the Lord of the Rings movie to make my wedding ring. I'm sure of it. You know why? Because now every time I get close to a beautiful girl, it starts to burn. I'm sure there's a tracking device on this thing somewhere too. So that was boat made its way in. Oh, there's a set of them actually. So you got the 28 here too as well. Jumping jack, yeah. Especially put a fireplace in that thing. True story. So once they get in, you'll get to see the water bubbling up the base of the gate. Of course, we're gonna have to wait for the houseboats to leave before we get to make our way in here today. And when we do pull into the chamber itself, we're going to wrap our lines around black cables that run down on either side of these locks. That's to prevent us from bouncing around when they start to flood the water in today, everyone. And I have a couple quick safety reminders for all my passengers on board. If we happen to have any smokers on board today, I would like to let you know, absolutely no smoking within any lock chamber through this entire system. It has something to do with fire and explosions these lock attendants are not very fond of. But if you're chewing, you can continue to chew. Anyone on the right-hand side of the starboard side of this vessel, please keep your hands to inside the ride at all times. We will be brushing up against the walls here today. I get to go make a coffee. Does anyone want to sing a song while we're waiting?
One little Chinese song, which I thought was way more involved than it was. I thought it was too yesterday. It was too busy. Shut it, and I said, no problem. Thanks for letting me know.
Well, that's awesome.
It is neat to watch. It is, yeah.
So the water's bubbling up over there.
Yes.
I would love to do that. Summer's over.
Kanina mataas yung bumaba na. Bumaba.
So in regards to the boat that's behind us, not sure if it's going to join us or not. You see, normally, we do not have to do this. If I explain to you how it normally works, there's a portion of the concrete wall just off to our left-hand side right over here that's painted blue. It also has a very appropriate name. It's called the blue line. And there's a blue line at the top and bottom of every lock at every reach through this entire system. What it is for is our situation right here. You show up the locks and these gates are closed tight. Tie yourself to this blue line. It quickly indicates to the lockmaster that you are trying to pass through, and they'll do anything in the means necessary to put you through quickly and efficiently. If you're to tie up anywhere else around here, you're basically just a visitor.
Yes. Are you joining us on the walk? That was good thinking. So you will be joining us. Sorry. We'll just I'll let Jan know when I go in first. Okay. We'll let them in. Yep. I'll do on the starboard side. I'll go right to the front. You might be able to get behind me, or you can take the other side.
Thank you, Captain.
No problem. So they are going to join us. So in regards to anybody come up to the front here, I have no issue. You do come up to the front, take a look, and take a picture, but try not to stand right up there, you guys. One, other people want to come up and take a look and take a picture, and everybody sitting behind you is going to want to see past you, and this will be appreciated by myself and anybody sitting in behind you, and no one will wind up overboard. We do not throw people overboard around here. We call it testing safety equipment. But we don't want to do that today either, okay, guys? So water should be slowing down here, almost ready to crack our gates open. You can see this monster of a boat that comes out of here.
To make your cruise a little more exciting. But the federal government, no sense of humor. Federal government don't want any part. But I appreciate that.
Oh, sounds cool, eh?
Cracking our gates right now.
That's a beagle.
Oh, he got all off his leash. This tiny one. This call of that.
Coming back from the cottage. over there, and when you like they just put a area.
Good part of the day. I thought no, it's too. I think it was
How do you drink all day if you don't start in the morning?
Oh, I should have warned that guy. Remember, you got a channel changer right here. You go to the left-hand side of that red marker going into the marina.
I know. Good morning, everybody. Hey.
Once the boat gets in here, then we're going to get to see these lock attendants walking around in circles, and behind us to close the large gates. They always close the gates in a V formation. This always faces upstream, everyone, so when the weight of the water comes into this lock, it actually holds these gates even better shut. This is a conventional flood lock. Then most of the locks on the waterway look a lot like this one right here, although they've converted and modernized a lot of our locks. They've taken out these old wooden gates that are front and behind us right now, put in very large steel or aluminum gates. And also all of these mechanisms that the lock attendants do walk around in circles to open and close the gates, put in basically push-button operations. Not in Peterborough. No, the lock that we are sitting in, the lock that's sitting behind us, and the 5 locks on the other side of our lift lock, also manually operated. They plan on keeping the heritage status in for Peterborough, so our locks here in town, manually operated almost indefinitely. Did you guys know that the very first idea or concept of a lock like this right here was actually designed by Leonardo da Vinci? Yes, it was. This was, of course, until an Englishman come around. It was a gentleman by the name of William Locke. This is sometime back around the 14th century. Actually decided to build one of these things. This is how they got the name locks, everyone. Not Da Vinci's. Personally, I think Da Vinci's got a ring to it. Hear me out for a second. The world's highest hydraulic Da Vinci. It's not that bad, right? Or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Da Vinci Tours. I'm trying to start a new trend, and it's just not catching on. You know what? I'm going to call it Da Vinci for the rest of the day. The next cruise is going to be confused. We have several different types of Da Vincis along these waterways, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to come around and telling us. Conventional floodlocks like we're sitting in right now, plus our modern version of these, that is with the steel gates in the front and back. We also have a 3-gate version of these. We call those flight locks. And they look just like this lock right here, except for halfway through there's another set of gates. You show up, the middle gate's already closed, they close the gate behind you, then they bring you up, say, 5 or 6 feet. They then open the middle gate, you move ahead 10 feet. They close that middle gate again and bring up another part 6 feet. Called flight locks. They're basically just two locks adjacent to each other. Of course, Peterborough has its giant hydraulic lift lock. That's the next one we get to see. And everybody knows where we're going today, right? Show of hands who does not know where we're headed next. Don't feel bad because it happens more often than you think. But if you do not know what the next destination is, boy, are you in for a surprise. Kirkfield in our system, everybody, also has a lift lock, just a little smaller than ours though. But Port Severn, lock number 45 on this system. Well, this one has its own very unique lock in itself, one of a kind as a matter of fact. They call it Big Shoe, Green Railroad. What happens there is completely different. You drive your boat into a giant rail car. It is specially designed, of course. Then they strap your boat into these giant straps, and then they pull the rail car, boat and all, right up out of the water, up onto a big dry hill, and then into water that is on the other side of that hill. Quite a ways up the waterway though, guys. We are not going to see that one today. And I really do not recommend watching any YouTube video of this. They're all extremely long and very boring. But if you actually went up and seen this piece of machinery, it is an amazing piece of machinery. You guys know where else there's an amazing lock? As a matter of fact, in Scotland. Scotland has a magnificent lock. It's called the Falkirk Wheel, and it is in Falkirk, Scotland. It's funny how they do that. It runs on the same basic principle as our big lift lock, with a heavy chamber up at the top and a lighter chamber at the bottom. But instead of going up and down from side to side like ours does, it does a half-moon crescent shape in a Ferris wheel style. And big too, like 100 feet high. We check this thing out. YouTube this thing. It's super neat, you guys. You know what I would love to do? I would love to get a hold of the captain of Hospitalist Tours over this. Then maybe we could swap for a week or two. Right? We call it the Captain Exchange Program. Lock swap. That'd be a good name for it. Lock swap. Licenses permitting, of course. It would be pretty simple to do though, right? Realistically, I mail him my commentary and then he would mail me his. Don't get me wrong, I would have to say it end of every sentence so people knew I was Canadian, right? And sometimes it is tough for us to pick up the thick Scots accent, but it is for the experience. I wonder if that guy talks about me. He better, because I talk about him. Well, I've also seen boats tied to the front of other boats and tied to the back of other boats. Maybe even seen two boats tied between two boats. Come to think about it, well, the only thing I have never seen in here is a boat upside down. I'm sure that that day is coming, as long as it's not my boat. And probably not today either, because there would be a lot of paperwork. And who wants to do paperwork? Not this guy. And this banging against the wall? Not my job. There was also once a time, everyone, when passing through our lock street, you were entirely free. It was quite a number of years ago now. It was Parks Canada are the ones that started let fees pass through these locks. It is judged by length of your vessel and for every foot of that vessel. For the small runabout boat, the kind you pull behind a car or truck or such, starts off at around $1.60 a foot, and it starts to go up a little bit with each pass, depending on what kind of pass you get, but it is relatively inexpensive. A single lockage like we're all doing right now is actually one of the worst of those. Let's say somewhere between $18 and $25 for a small boat like that to pass through. For the day pass, say only about $25 to $35. Get the day pass price. You can also get a week's pass. It is actually good for any 6 days through this entire season, including the day you purchased it. A month's pass is kind of self-explanatory, right? But they've abolished it. And the season's pass was also kind of self-explanatory. It's good for the whole season. And for that same type of boat, we're going to say somewhere between the $300 to $400 mark. Not too off of that. Or if you are just lucky enough to be born before 1927, guess what? You can still get a free pass. Yes, you can. Well, hold on. There are rules and stipulations, of course. We are talking about the federal government here. You see, some gentlemen used to bring grandma down on the Sea-Doo every year and try and get a free pass, so they put a stop to that. Your boat cannot be any longer than 18 feet long, and you also have to be the owner and operator of that vessel. Did you guys see my 103-year-old great-grandmother showing up on a Sea-Doo to get a free pass? I don't think so. It's a catch. And God bless if you're a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, anything like that, 103, 104 years old, still pleasure crafting around, you tell them to come see me, I will do the walk into the booth and get them the pass myself. I should say that hesitantly. As a matter of fact, in this very log, jump-ins, must be 10 years ago now, I met a sweet little old lady. She was 86 years old at the time, guys, sailing through Canada all by herself. And she made it. She sent me a postcard from BC. Great cookies. And I guess she wasn't really by herself. She had her Michelle Frise with her. Her dog. Everybody needs company, right?
Slowly but surely getting up there.
Yeah.
But I don't see the mouth of like the boat. I just want to like have that.
So, for everybody that's upstairs with me right now, pretty safe to assume if I do not talk into this microphone right here, all the people that are sitting downstairs right now, guess what? They cannot hear me. So since we're all up here, there's a bunch of people downstairs. Well, let's have some fun with the people downstairs, shall we? Can't have fun at work. Why come to work? Can't laugh when I'm doing it. They'll know.
Hey, we pretty much hit the top of the lock here now. You can now see the canal stretching out in front of us. Oh no. There's a great big blue bridge blocking the way. Well, a lot of people are not aware of this, but what we have on our vessel here at Liftlock Cruise Line is something that I like to call the flood valve. So what I'm going to do here in just a couple minutes is I'm going to fire up the engines. We are then going to flood the entire bottom deck and go underneath that blue bridge. So if you are sitting downstairs right now, shut the windows and I hope you're wearing sandals. There's no room up here. No, the water level is going to have to exactly go out from the lock that we are in comparison to the canal in front of us. Or if there's a couple inches of difference or so, it is actually impossible for the lock attendants to swing the gates open. Well, the weight bearing down these gates, an absolutely incredible number. It's estimated about 5 tons per square meter of water. But once water level does equal out, relatively easy, swing the gates in front of us.
We're on the bottom deck.
She's all covered up.
Yeah.
It gets cool.
Directions for an awfully long way. But you know, the people of Peterborough here, an awfully patient bunch. They will quietly sit in their cars, talk amongst themselves, or listen to the radio for 10 or even up to 15 minutes at a time. You know what? Sometimes they even get downright friendly, take but a moment of their busy schedules to even roll down their windows and wave at us. Oddly enough, sometimes with only one finger extended. But if that's the case, in much will just smile and wave back, I'm sure it is just a friendly Peterborough greeting, everyone. Once we all get by this blue swing bridge, the next stone bridge we're all going to come up to and go by right up here on our right is that of the old CP rail line. Well, it actually used to be a veal line for a great many years. It connected a lot of the small towns from Havelock all the way to Toronto. They've discontinued that via service, just basically used for freight train operation nowadays. Although, a lot of talk about bringing the via service back now. Sparkling Waters Rail Line's construction was supposed to begin last year. I don't think they quite found all the funding. But the train bridge coming up still swings a couple times a day. It is usually left closed for the late night train to travel through town. The largest user of this track, Quaker Roads, they do bring in most of the grain products into a rail truck. The second largest user of this track, a company called Uniman Mines. It is a mining corporation just a little north of Havelock, Ontario, and they mine nepheline cyanide there. It is used for a lot of different things. And what this is, everyone, is two very large identical chambers, and they are resting side by side. Each one of these very large chambers, both resting on very large black cylinders. We're going to see one of the cylinders stretching out on the left-hand side today. Each one of those cylinders, and directly below them, they are connected to press welds, and they go some 80 feet into the ground. And 127 feet below the Canadian flag of that center column tower, a large crossover valve connects those two large press welds. I will give you all a quick explanation about how this works, and when we get right into the chamber here today, hopefully they will give me enough time to explain it a little bit more in detail. Probably right about now, most of us should be able to see or at least get a glimpse of the one chamber in the air way up on the left and the secondary chamber in its lower position on the right. Well, soon enough, its large gate is going to open right up, and we're all going to pass directly over top of that gate. They will then close the gate in behind us. It is at that time that our lockmaster, who's way up in the tower, he gets to open up the crossover valve. The chamber in the air will come down, causing our chamber on the ground to rise up 65 feet, or 19.8 meters. Or at least it did yesterday. It was July 9th, 1904 this opened up, everyone. So on July 9th of this year, just a couple months back, this structure turned 120 years old. When they first started building this back in 1896, they did estimate it would take about 6 years to build all of this, everyone. One to excavate some 27,000 cubic meters of material the side of this very large hill. This was all by hand, I might add. They then planned to pour in an additional 37,000 cubic meters of concrete, and that did make this the world's largest concrete structure. Well, the total estimated cost of building this structure way back then, $250,000. You couldn't buy the concrete for that much money anymore. Although, it did take a little over 8 years to build, and they wound up topping off just a little over $350,000. We all know that was the first and only time that our federal government ever went over budget. Maybe not the only time. Today, when we build very large concrete structures like this, everyone, we put incredible amounts of reinforcing steel inside them. Although when they built this, they had never quite built anything like this before. So that idea of putting steel inside it wasn't even thought of yet. This structure out in front of us, one big, giant, solid piece of concrete. There is absolutely zero reinforcing steel in any of this structure. How does that make you feel? What Rogers did made very dry mixture concrete, and when they poured it in place, they actually tamped it into place, thus reinforcing it, and it still stands just a little over 120. And luckily enough, we don't get any earthquakes around here.
I'm going to do the water temps. I said I didn't get to them, but I can do them later. She's like, oh no, I'll do them. I have something to do.
Just a little nervous of heights. Because it's too late. I got you. Of course, the boat has to make its way in beside us here.
She'll be all
And that large gate will begin to come up on our water. but it gives me a little extra time and the opportunity to explain to you all how this works just a little bit more in detail. You see, a few things are going to happen in behind us today as the gate does come up and latch shut. One, we have a lock master back here. This is Jason, everybody. Say hi, Jason.
Hi, Jason.
He has a really important job to do for all of us. He gets to drop in the fluorescent manual locking pins. There is a fluorescent pin for each side of each one of these chambers. What these pins are actually for, everyone, to prevent that back gate from falling open. Did they ever tell you at the time we got halfway to the top, the back gate just burst open and out? That only happened twice. We probably shouldn't talk about that right now. What's going to happen today, however? As the gate latches shut today, we are all going to retain a 7-foot water level inside this chamber in which we are all sitting in. So right now, this chamber sits at 7 feet. The canal behind us is at 7 feet. It is always at 7 feet. It's controlled by the upper reach. This chamber way above us over here on the left-hand side, itself, contents of water, possibly vessels, weighs a little over 1,800 tons. Well, the chamber that we're all sitting in, just a little bit lighter. See the chamber way up in the air? Well, it's got 8 feet of water inside it. So, kind of think of us instead like a giant bathtub. Our bathtub right now has 7 feet of water. Their bathtub way in the air is 8 feet of water. The single-foot difference of water from that chamber up there to this one right here is equivalent to about 130 metric tons. So this is how this all works. I need a big breath in this one. We pull to the chamber. They're going to close the gate behind us. Then a lock master should come on the PA system here in a few moments. He's going to make an announcement and kind of something along the lines like, "Welcome, visitors to the Peterborough Local Locks. This is one of parts of Canada's national historic site, so we don't need a transfer momentarily. Thank you." Gets really close, by the way. What's then going to happen is he actually gets to push the button that opens up the crossbar valve. The chamber wave in the air, it will begin to fall or drop. This forces the water or fluid from beneath its chamber down through its giant press well through the giant crossbar valve. It's sitting about 30 feet underground to the entire left-hand side of us right here. It forces the water fluid into the press well that's underneath our chamber. It is the water that is inside the cylinder, everyone, that's going to charge us up 65 feet or 19.8 meters. We're going to see how it goes. This is also assuming, everyone, that they won't be loading any boats in the upper chamber. So if the loading boats in the upper chamber today will be here for a couple extra minutes or so, you see, they only open and close one chamber gate at a time. And as a safety precaution of theirs, a little mishap they had back in the 90s. We probably shouldn't talk about that either. But since we're all waiting, I want to tell about the 90s, a little mishap. It's not that bad, really, guys. So they actually used to load both chambers here simultaneously. They'd have this lower gate open, boats coming in here like we just did, but they would have that upper gate open at the exact same time, let boats come in up there. Actually made lockages around here a lot quicker. Well, as they back in the 90s doing just that, well, our lockmaster in the tower watching the lower chambers, boats are coming in. Well, sometimes when they're loading and unloading boats around here, they have to add or release pressure to the big cylinder that's underneath us to keep the gates alive. Well, on this day, the lockmaster watching the lower chamber and adjusting it accordingly. You know the downfall of this situation was? He was adjusting the wrong chamber. He thought he was adjusting the lower chamber. In fact, what did that do, you ask? Well, I'm going to let you all know. It wrecked the rubber seal all the way around the upper gate and ripped one of the upper gate hinges off. And then the entire upper canal then drained into the lower canal. So they don't do that anymore. That was my last day working on the Trans River. I'm just teasing. They tell me this guy still works around here, but they will not tell me his name. They say I have a big mouth. Right, Griffin? That was Griffin on the PA, everybody. He's the guy with his finger on the buttons with the skyrocket is all up into the air. Maybe it's not that fast. The last lock took us about 12 or 13 minutes to rise 4 meters or 12 feet. This one does 65 feet in 3 minutes, so hold on. When we start moving, it'll be very slowly at first, everyone, to let the rubber seals on the front and back of the chamber slowly slide apart, but then the crossbar valve will kick into about a 75% capacity, and we're all going to move much, much faster. You know, I can't help it, but when I wait for this thing to start going up or down either way, to play that Jeopardy tune in my head. Now when you guys are playing the Jeopardy tune, you're going to be with you for the rest of the day too. You're welcome. Hey, and we begin. Don't worry about that little leak up there. They promised to fix that. This is still the world's highest hydraulic lift locks, ladies and gentlemen, two of which in North America, one of Kirkfield's is the exact same system, but this one's highest, and away we go. But I will remind you all one more time, it is actually just one single foot of water inside the chamber coming down beside us that makes this all work. Because after they open up the crossover valve, gravity does everything else. It's like a giant teeter-totter, a seesaw, let's say. Now, of course, an amazing feature about this, move boat traffic two directions simultaneously. Not sure if there's boats over there or not, but if there are, and you guys in the back over there can see them, this is the one part of the cruise you take a picture of a complete stranger. He's smiling because I'm taking pictures of you guys too. But I'm not seeing any boats over there today. Got two big boats inside of here. One of them is a 62-ton cruise ship. Makes absolutely zero difference how many boats are in the chamber, everyone, because every boat displaces its own weight in water. So whichever chamber has the extra foot of water, well, it also has its extra 130 tons. Archimedes here, though. And as we do continue to rise, do not worry about that little bit of shaking we feel from time to time. Just remember the structure did just turn 120. You would shake too if you were 120. Come on.
That's nice. Yeah. Ooh, look at that.
Get close to the top, slow back down a bit, let the seals slide back together, because they really don't like it leaks or anything. But as we all come to a stop here today, I did kind of tell you all that we were all going to rise 65 feet. May have misled you just a little bit, because now that we've all reached the top, we've only actually risen 64 feet. I'm sure it's the end of my career, guys. What is going to happen now is they're going to open up this large gate directly out in front of us, at which time we are all going to be charged with an extra foot of water and essentially an extra 130 tons. So we actually rise the last foot right inside the chamber. Give you a little idea, look down the walls and around us, you can see the water stains down the walls. So for my boaters beside me, the little boat here, we're about to take on a foot of water, so get to your lines, keep them looped up through those bars, but hold yourself away from the wall just a little bit so that don't get caught up under any rub rails. Severed waterway should pain you. What is then going to happen as we get the extra foot of water? We're going to leave this lock. We're going to go for a little cruise down the canal here. We're going to turn around and come back the way we came. In the time that we are all gone, they close the gate directly in front of us, and then they have to open the lower gate. Well, they lose a foot of water down to the lower side, essentially they're 130 tons, and when all the gates are closed again, this lock right here is ready to go back into motion. Except for this one is now the heavier chamber, 8 feet of water, and the bottom of the lighter at just 7. They just keep doing that all day long, up and down. So the only thing they really have to do a transfer around here, open up both the gates, and then push the button. This is assuming they have electricity, of course. And a lot of people ask and wonder, what if there's no electricity? Well, if the power goes out and the transfer is started, the transfer completes. Because there's no electricity involved. It actually takes more electricity to boil your kettle at home for a coffee than to actually make this go up and down. Yeah. What they have a really, really big problem doing is opening and closing the big gates. So just to let everybody know, they have enough reserve power to open and close one chamber gate. If you happen to be in the other chamber, you are stuck there till the power comes back on. I myself, as a captain, have been stuck in the upper chamber for 4 hours. What do you mean, you guys get to go to the bar for the captain. It's no fun at all. It was manual. Yeah, we will talk about it. We've all risen a total of 77 feet, just shy of 23 meters from the lake that we started in, to the canal directly in front of us. And this is Griffin up in the window, everybody at the tower. Notice in his announcement, he didn't say thank you. Now that we have all got the Peterborough hydraulic Liftlock, I should probably tell you a little bit about the man who built and designed all of this, Mr. R.B. Rogers, or Mr. Richard Berto Rogers. He was born right here in Peterborough, everyone. He went to Trinity College in Port Hope, and he later went to McGill University in Montreal. That's where he earned his engineering degree. When he was first hired as the chief engineer of the waterway to overcome the 77-foot elevation change, his first major thought, put in giant floodlocks in beside every existing hydro-generating dam and plant on the riverside along this. But in order to do so, he had to shut down the river. This would shut down mill and industries for months, if not years at a time. So that wasn't acceptable. Instead, he decided to go over to Europe. This is where he studied locks, dams, and canals in Belgium, England, and France for some time, as they didn't lock in systems for many years before we did. It was upon return to Peterborough when he actually put his plans into people to build what we all just seen today. Although, while under construction of the Liftlock, Rogers was very secretive. He would only give his men enough information just to keep them working every day. Rogers was very fearful that in partway through construction, if there was a change of government, then his government-appointed job would then be in jeopardy. Well, in fact, partway through construction, there was a change of government. But nobody exactly knew what Rogers was trying to build here. So they continued to let him work on the waterways. They never let any mill or industry thrive on the river. For that one single reason, Rogers didn't clear his name was never hired on the waterway. In fact, the number he set from them, it was $126 per cost of that. That's what we call it that. Or normally on hot and warm summer days, no doubt we're going to be down here after school, jumping off the top of this bridge, going back and forth 100. As we get a little bit closer, you'll also notice the Tarzan Road. Well, that's where they try to perform several acrobat leaps for my passengers. Much to the dismay of many of us boaters that travel through here, but nonetheless, this is a pretty good spot for swimming. In the school back in now, we haven't run over a kid up here in almost 2 weeks. Most wonderful time of the year, kids back in school. As we get by the high bridge, we're about to reach the midway point. A spot in the canal up here, widen up for us to turn around and come back the way we came. If we'd all continue on north this way though, past the next Park Hill Swing Bridge in view here in front of us, continuing up the canal, we would reach a spot in this canal where Trent University owns both sides of the waterway. Trent possessing about 1,500 acres on each side of our waterway, and just a little further up from that, the massive campus itself, split here. Approaching the Liftlock from this direction doesn't quite look as high or as impressive as it does from the other side, does it? But underneath that Canada flag where there's that red roof tower, that is where the lockmaster himself used to have to shout out orders to all his other lock attendants to open and close the old steel gates. That is where he himself would operate a very large crank. The crank had a gear on it, and that gear had a chain around it. But that chain went all the way down, right around the crossover valve, then all the way back up, where he himself would open and close the crossover valve manually. It was in the mid-60s that they modernized this lock, everyone, dropping about $2 million into this one lock alone back then, and they changed a number of different things. Removed all the old steel gates, replaced those with aluminum gates, and also all of the mechanisms for opening and closing those old steel gates. Because they used to use high-pressure air and water, they replaced those with electric hydraulics. Decided that they should take the lockmaster out of that red roof tower there, put him on the upper reach, that's where they are now, where they also installed the electrical control panel. And it made all of this a push-button operation. Even yet, still today, underneath the red roof right there, still remains empty, because they don't go up there anymore. I guess that's not entirely true, because they do go up there for 2 reasons. They go up there in the spring to put the Canada flag up, and then they go back up there in the fall to take it back down again. A shame, really. If you get a chance to look up into the tower, please do so. It's actually lined with the BC cedar. Extremely tastefully done, all in tongue and groove. It's a real shame that people don't go up there anymore. Not really surprising that they haven't done a lock-in since we were here last, so we are going down to the same chamber we came up in. Out in front of us, just waiting for a green light to re-enter the chamber. Once we make our way into the chamber itself, look through the tinted glass windows, gonna pass us on our right. You'll see the control panel that runs all of this lock, and up to a couple of the lockmasters that run it. And as I myself pull into this chamber today, I'm gonna try not to run into the end gate up here. These lockmasters hate it when I do that. There, open my eyes again. Not sure. You brought your camera with you today, or your phone. You want to take it up to the front rail, up to the front bow, be looking straight out, closest straight down, nearly 7 stories. I don't think the boat turned around to join us. Looks like we're going to go down by ourselves this time. They'll close the gate. We're probably going to hear the announcement again. It won't be quite as clear on the upper side as it is at the lower side. That's $5, sir.
Gosh, I'm out of money now. I had to buy a car.
Red at the top.
At which time they're going to put us all back into motion. You know, it should take us all the exact same amount of time to go down as it did to go up, ladies and gentlemen. That is, of course, unless the seals blow out from underneath us, in which case we would all drop like a tea kettle. But that hasn't happened for a number of years. Do you guys know why?
That's mighty high. That is tall. That's right.
7.
So the timber is full of water. That's why it's leaking down through. Look, see, you can see the bottom. Isn't that pretty now?
As we all reach that secondary chamber, also reach the top simultaneously, pull the pins, open the gate. We're going to lose a bit of water at essentially the 130 tons that rush from the top to the bottom, and then we're all going to continue on our way. You guys are going to love the next story. As we leave here today, how about a round of applause for these Locketons put us through manually every single day, all day long. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it today, gentlemen. As we get right back out of the lake and across the lake on our left-hand side, you're going to see our second of two long sandy beaches. And it is a piece of property at one time that was owned by Sir John A. Macdonald, our very first Prime Minister of Canada. He actually owned the piece of property while he was Prime Minister. He had an old farmhouse over there. Quite a number of years ago, it was the city of Peterborough that tore down the old farmhouse, made room for 5 large soccer fields, a covered in picnic area, a very large playground, the giant beach you can see off the left, of course. On the far side of the property, you'll stay at the campground. For a month, a week, or for that transit camper, just a day or two. They call the piece of property Beaver Mead Park. It's called this because the creeks that run behind it, the Beaver, the Mead Creek. The mouth of Beaver Creek is right next to the docking system here for the Canoe Museum, everyone. That's it, hidden behind the trees there. The large point of land directly out in front of us and going to pass us all by on our left-hand side is that of Little Lake Cemetery. Although it is not even the original site of this cemetery. When they first put this cemetery in town, it was right in the heart of our city, roughly right where town hall is now. They found as the population increasingly grew, it was going to be far too small. So they decided to dig up all the old graves and all the old headstones and move them out to this rather piece of poor waterfront property. And I do say poor because waterfront on the Peterborough Festival of Lights, along with a concert every Wednesday and Saturday, shoot off fireworks at the exact same evenings. Unfortunately, discontinued the fireworks process out of all this, so now we have Little Lake Music Festival. And has anybody ever told you I have always wanted to drive the Maid of the Mist? I know this isn't exactly Niagara Falls, but 1,700 gallons of water a minute, that will do the trick. It's called the horn blowing. You have your cameras on the right-hand side. You might have put those away right about now. You know, still a piece of property directly out in front of us. Del Quarry Park, we do hold a range of concerts all summer long. And we have seen the likes of all sorts of entertainers here. We have seen, are you guys ready for this list? John McDermott, Garris Robert, Blue Rodeo, Tom Cochran, Super Chilliwack, CCR, Color, Jefferson, PB Dobson, College, David, 40 Cowboy, Judges, Tina, Center, Track, Chop, Brown, Serena, Ryder, Armor, Lord, Dallas, Webster, Dave Wilcox, close up for a season, and so many more. And anywhere from 6 to 60,000 people come and crowd themselves in our park. All absolutely free, of course. It is a